Good morning, everybody. We're in Matthew, and we are in the Sermon on the Mount, the very beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 5. And the first verses, of course, we recognize those as called the Beatitudes, and they're Jesus' description of what it is to live in his kingdom, what it is to be ruled by God, to live in the rulership of God. And really, that's just another word for phrase for what we call living in a personal relationship with God. And as Jesus says, you will be blessed in so many ways when we live in that relationship. And the whole set of Beatitudes hinges on really the very first one, chapter 5, verse 3. It all starts with the first one, and I'm just going to paraphrase it that Jesus tells us we are all spiritually bankrupt, and none of us can save ourselves. None of us are self-made, and we all need to trust our lives to Jesus. We all need God in our lives, and when we do that, that's the way that we'll be blessed. And so when we start out with that desire and need in our life that we know that we need Jesus, we will want what he wants. God will change us to want more, to live like Jesus would live if he were living in our bodies. And so today we're looking at verse 9. We're a little ways down in the Beatitudes. And again, they're familiar words, but let me just read them for you one more time. God blesses those who work for peace, for they will be called the children of God. So what's peace? Well, it's the best way that I know to describe it is go back to the original language, the Hebrew language, actually, and we think of shalom. Shalom is peace. And shalom, the definition of shalom is when it was actually a greeting back and forth between people who speak the Hebrew language, but it's much more than a greeting, because when we speak that greeting, we are wishing God's absolute highest for each person. That's what it means to live in a relationship with God. It's a total and complete well-being, both personally and as a community. So the next question is, if that's peace, then what does it mean to be a peacemaker? What does it mean to be a peacemaker? Well, Jesus is telling us that when we are in a relationship with God, that we will pursue peace. It will become part of who we are. We will pursue God's highest good for every single person, both for ourselves and for others. And of course, the highest peace is peace with God. Peace with God. We talk about this all the time, that sin is what separates us from God. And Jesus went to the cross to pay the price for our sin so that we could be reunited with God. And trusting in God means that we become his children. We become reunited. We become heirs of his goodness. And so peacemakers share Jesus with others so that each person can know his peace. They can know that they can become his children. Now, the second kind of peacemaking also is peacemaking between people. Jesus tells us that when we're worshiping, later on the Sermon on the Mount, he says that if we're worshiping God and we realize that there's something between us and another person, that we will get up from our worship posture and we will leave the building and we will go find that person and we will reconcile with them. In fact, in Romans 12:18, Paul goes a little bit further on this. He says, do all that you can do so you can live in peace with everyone. So it's peace with God, it's peace between people, and then finally, the other kind of peace is peace with the whole world, peace for the whole world. This is a tough one, because we often think of peace as the absence of conflict, but that's not the real definition. Sometimes peace is not avoiding conflicting issues. Instead, it's dealing with them and seeking reconciliation and justice. That is the best and the highest for each person. Peacemakers can honestly pray for God's highest good for each other, for each person, even if they have hurt us and those with whom we disagree. That's Jesus' desire. That's what it means to be a peacemaker. Jesus taught and modeled being a peacemaker through his whole life, didn't he? He talked to us about how it is necessary to go through conflict, to have peace. Often a peacemaker finds himself in the middle and bears the pain of peacemaking while working towards peace, just as Jesus suffered while he was working towards peace. How do we grow as peacemakers? Well, let me just give you a couple ways. There's many ways, but the first one is we ask God to look inside of us, to go after the sin in our life and our blind spots. And together, as we work on them, we ask God to show us how then we can contribute to shalom in the world. And the second thing we do is we practice listening. Learning to listen and when we do speak, choosing the words appropriately is an important first step in what it really means to be pursuing peace. In James chapter 1, he tells us these words of wisdom. He says, "Be quick to listen and slow to speak." We can all grow in this, can't we? We can grow in our listening skills. It does not come naturally, and it's something that we all need to work on with God's help and to intentionally practice. Shalom in each of us, shalom in the home, shalom in the world. That's God's desire. Shalom every place. God blesses us when we pursue the highest good for every single person, even the most tough to love. Only God can change us, but we can sow the seeds of peace. But it's God who is the one who makes them grow. Lord, help us to be faithful peacemakers. Have a great day.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.